Selamat Pagi, Dan. Good morning. This is Jackson Wehrli with the, I believe, 10th installment of the Selamat Pagi podcast. And today we're going to be covering November 27th through December 3rd. And on P-Day this week, we went to Damai Beach, which is way up on the north end of Kuching. In a little town called Damai. It's a suburb of Kuching, up past Matang. And we went to the beach, and we had one heck of a time. It was here at this beach that well, let's see. There was these fun little monkeys running around, which was hysterical because they liked the human food, but they did not like vegetables. We tried feeding them cauliflower, and they just were not interested. They wanted chocolate bars and stuff. So it was kind of hysterical. A little aggressive, actually. These monkeys would be all cute and cuddly, right? But if they didn't get what they want, or they felt threatened in any way, they'd hiss at you. Again, kind of hysterical. And this was the P-Day that I got an email from Sister Ewan in the MTC, who was one of my teachers, and she said it happened. And she sent me a picture of her and Brother Tonini, who I had set her up with in the MTC. Those were the two teachers. Brother Tonini taught Marshallese, and Sister Ewan taught Malay. They were going on a date, and then they sent me a picture of them holding hands. Jeff said that Sister Ewan had gotten a boyfriend, and I didn't believe him. And then when I emailed her, when I did my emailing, she had sent me an email, and it was pretty hysterical. This was the time. So when we went to Damai Beach, it rained pretty good. The senior couples, it was a zone activity, so we were all kind of there together at the beach, and we couldn't swim, so we would play around on the sand, and I remember picking up a crab and almost putting it in my mouth, but just holding up this little baby crab, and it was kind of fun, and it scared some of the other elders that were there. They were like, "Ew, you're eating a crab." But when Elder Jopius, who is from Kota Kinabalu, he was serving there, and he was our zone leader. Elder Jopius pulled out his guitar, and it was this nice deep red color with black, and he started playing Adamu, which is a song that I have recorded and uploaded to YouTube as well, of myself playing. I should probably redo it because the audio is not that great, but the song is basically saying, I know that if I have nothing else, I have the Lord on my side. And it's really cool. And he played it on the guitar, and everyone sang it, and I didn't really know it. So that was the first time I learned about that song, and it became one of my favorite Malay songs. It's called Adamu, Adamu, and it's by Najwa Latif, I think is her name. She's from Indonesia. But yeah, so that was kind of fun. On Tuesday, we had our district council. Back then it was called district meeting, and it was at this district meeting that afterwards there was a missionary leadership council that was held, and so myself, Elder Mansfield, who was companions with Elder Jopius, and Elder Taylor, who became a good friend of mine, we all went out contacting at the mall, and it was kind of hysterical. Elder Mansfield went up and started talking to a Muslim. I didn't know she was Muslim, and then when I found out, we were about to part ways, and I offered to give her a high five. And this is where I learned that it is against Muslim standard. What I mean by that is it is against their religion for women to touch any other man other than her husband. So before she's married, she's not allowed to touch any men. Fathers are allowed to touch their daughters, I'm pretty sure, but so like a high five, a handshake could not. Definitely don't do to Muslim women. And I didn't know this, so I offered to give her a high five, and she said, I can't. And I was so confused, and Elder Taylor explained it to me. It was kind of funny. Well, Elder Taylor walked up to this Chinese man, and the first thing he said, he says, hello, how are you? And then he just straight up told the brother, he said, brother, you need to stop smoking. You'll get very sick. And the guy was like, yeah, I know. And I was just so blown away by how bold he was in just straight up telling him, you need to quit smoking. Like, there was no hesitation. And the guy was like, yeah, I know. And it started to a conversation. But I was so blown away. I thought, I ought to try that. I ought to try being that bold and just telling people, hey, there's a way to stop smoking. We have that way. We know how to help you overcome this, if you'll let us. And I went to, I was tracting later that week with my companions, with my companion, Elder Ng, and we were talking to this group of guys that were smoking. And they were not interested in hearing about the gospel, so we left them alone. We went down. They were at the top of this this apartment complex, and we went down. And I said, Elder, I just feel like we got to go back up there and say something to him. And he's like, okay, let's follow the prompting. So we went back up the stairs, and I said to the guy in Malay, this is in my broken Malay because I was still very new, and I said, hey, have you ever tried to stop smoking? And he said, yeah. I said, were you able to? And he said, no. And I said, would you like to know why? And he's like, yeah. I said, well, I have a friend who wanted to stop smoking. And he was able to, but he did it through the power of Jesus Christ. Would you like to know how to stop smoking? And he said yes. And then his friends were kind of like, no, tell him to leave. And so he was like a little confused, and he's like, oh, never mind, go away. And so we left him. But it was kind of interesting to see his initial reaction was yes. He said he wanted to stop, but he just didn't know how. And as we're walking down the stairs, I realized that in the missionary training center, they taught us the word for tobacco in Malay. But I never once learned the word for smoking in Malay. And in this moment, this word came to me. I had never learned the word for smoking in Malay. And in this moment, I had asked this guy if he wanted to stop smoking, and the word came to me. And I don't know where I learned it. But if I had to say, it was the gift of tongues. I was told by the power of God what word to say to this man, even though I didn't know it. And I believe it was because I followed that prompting and I went back up the stairs to speak to him, even though we had already walked away. And when I realized that I did have the gift of tongues, and it just kind of clicked. And that was the week that we actually met a man named Brother Beatty, who we continued to teach for a little while, and his family. And I'll explain a little bit more about Brother Beatty in our next podcast. But that will wrap us up for today. Thank you for listening, and jumpa lagi.